Hi everybody, I'm Brian.
And I'm Fred.
This is CalvertNews.info. We thought it would be fun, since it's the beginning of this summer's crab season, to show everybody how to pick a Maryland crab.
Yep, we got the Chesapeake Bay in the background here. Maryland crabs right in front of us. Show you how to do this.
Little old bay.
And don't forget the bug nets.
There you go. So stick around, we're going to show you how to do that. One of the very first things you want to do after you've seasoned up your crabs with some Old Bay, I actually make some of my own, mix it up with some kosher salt and a little cayenne pepper. Comes out with a mixture that really tasty. Don't want to use too much salt. Use too much salt and you end up just drinking too much. It's not a good thing. After you do that, the very first thing you want to do is be the quickest to grab the biggest crab in the bunch. And this guy is pretty big. We got him at the John Seafood up on 260.
Yep, John Seafood.
John Seafood up on 260. So make sure you get the biggest crab in the bunch to start off with. What I like to do is pull the big claws off. When you pull the big claws off, set them aside, and you're going to come back to them later. Now I like to leave the little claws on, these little legs. I'll leave those little legs on because I'll use them as a handle later on. Get yourself a sharp crab knife. You might also want a mallet. Crab knives are very sharp, so be careful with those. I actually don't use a mallet a whole lot. I'll use it occasionally on a real stubborn shell, but that's about it. One of the first things I do, pull the apron off with the knife and just snap it aside. We keep a little bucket off to the side, keep everything neat and tidy. You don't have to worry about a bunch of junk. Simply take the crab by the back of the shell, pop it open. If you're real careful, what you can do is you'll pull out a lot of the insides. These are the lungs, and the rest of this stuff, the yellow stuff, and everything else that comes out in the middle is simply fat. Really won't hurt you. Toss your shell in there. What I'll do after that is scrape everything off, cut the front end off. In this process, if you get really quick with it, it actually doesn't take very long to do. People say, oh, crabs take too long to pick, but really when you start to get a little speedy with it, it's not bad. Take your knife, scrape out the inside, scrape out all the fat, scrape out all the guts, get everything out of the way. Nothing in there can really hurt you, folks, so don't worry too much about it. After you get it sort of cleaned out in the center, I'll take it, simply just snap it in half. And you get two sections. If you're like me, I always have to give one section to one of the kids so that they can do something with it, and then I get to eat the other section if I'm lucky. Now that you've got it's cut in half, I like to start at the back where the back fin is. And if you simply open up the crab and start picking away at the shell from the back side forward, you'll eventually get it. And this is one of the reasons I leave these back fins and the short legs on, is you'll end up with a bunch of meat that's basically on a little handle. Pop that in your mouth and you're good to go. Pull the rest of that back fin out. Boy, this was a big crab and he is very full. So it looks like crabs are going to be good this season. Make sure you get out and get some. Then this leaves you with this little sort of hollow section in the center. What I'll do with that is then take it and just basically pinch it. Some people will actually take a knife and cut it, but I think that's overkill and it just leaves you an opportunity to slice your finger open with your real sharp crab knife. What I'll do is I'll just take it and snap it, punch it in half, and then pop it apart. And you'll see now we've got a little section that's got little chambers that run down. Same thing we did with the back fin. Just simply take it and pop it open, and there you have the meat sitting at the end of a little handle so you can dig in. I see there's people over there eyeballing my crab, so I might have to eat some of this here in a minute before I get too far. You just walk right down here though with your fingers and pull the meat out of this section. You see how easy it is. It just like falls right out. And if a crab's been cooked really well, and these have been, then the meat's real tender and it just slides right out. Sometimes they'll be a little watery depending upon the time of the season, but these aren't that wet, so they're good to go. The top part, just start slowly picking from one side to the other, taking bits and pieces of it off, opening up those chambers, and as you walk down and open up each chamber, you actually just pull the meat out. So all you're left with is the shell. And make sure you pick them good, or else your neighbors will get real angry with you, especially if the crabs are still very expensive at the point in time that you're picking crabs. Because if I look at somebody and they got a whole bunch of crab left in their pickings, that's not a good thing. So make sure you pick clean. And this, folks, is just simply one side of a crab, and you see a pile of meat that came out of one side of a crab. Well, that's how you pick the inside of a crab, and I told you we were going to set these claws here to the side, and these are some pretty big claws. What I do to eat the claws is simply, if you snap them against the joint, sometimes when you pull, you'll see this ligament and this cartilage will come out. Sometimes that'll pull out the meat with it. But if it doesn't, some people will use a mallet and smash it up. I don't particularly care to do that because then you get all sorts of crab shell inside the meat. So what I'll do is I just take the sharp edge of the knife, set it right up against the leg, and give it with the back of the heel of your hand a little snap. Now you don't want to go all the way through it, because what you want to do is then twist the knife. When you twist the knife, it makes a nice clean break. You see, actually it opens it up, and you pull out the entire big chunk of crab leg with that. Now these front claws, a little bit different. What I'll do with this, same thing. Sometimes you can pull that cartilage out. But what I like to do is go ahead on the front claws and leave that in. Get that knife as close as you can up to that joint. Same thing with the back of the heel of your hand. Nice little quick snap. What'll happen is that break in half. Didn't work that time, but what'll happen is that cartilage will come out, and you'll have that on a big crab sickle. So if that doesn't happen, then all you have to do is just start popping that piece of shell off, and eventually inside of there is the meat with on a piece of cartilage, and you just pull that whole hunk of meat out at one time. Okay, so that's it, folks. What you want to make sure you do is important rules. Make sure you get the biggest crab first. That's the big thing.
That's the big one.
I guess keep the crabs hot, and I guess you want to keep the beer cold, right?
Yeah, definitely keep the beer cold, and it really needs to be Budweiser.
The crab's hot and the beer cold. Who gets to eat that pile of crab?
You picked it, so I eat it. That's
okay.
Not the general rule.
I'm going to take this other second biggest one. Look how bright red that crab is. Enjoy your crabs. Folks, visit the website www.calvertnews.info. I think we're going to do this again with a part 2 for crabs, and we're going to show you how to cook them next time.
Crabs.
Big steamer pot, and at that time we're going to have a big crab feast, and you get the whole shebang. You get to see the whole thing. So enjoy that when we do that, and it'll probably be a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll try to do that then.
So.
Again, www.calvertnews.info.